Hello and welcome. Thank you very much for coming out on another very hot June evening for the 5th year of the Ivan Juritz Prize. We seem to choose the hottest evening of the year each time, but we'll try to do better next time. I'm Lara Feigl and I'm the co-director of the Centre for Modern Literature and Culture. Before introducing the shortlist, I just wanted to say a little about the past and future of the Centre and the prize. Over the past 5 years, both have really grown rapidly. When I first set it up, aided by a handful of friends who'd offered to judge it, we wanted to find a way of opening the university to the creative world and of celebrating creative experiment within the academy. The first year's prize won by Ivan Juritz was a really quite small and informal competition, entered mainly by people known to us at King's. But the winning entry and shortlist were really good enough to start gathering attention for the prize, and quickly the entries proliferated. After Ivan Juritz's sudden death, we renamed the prize in its 3rd year. And then in 2016, on the eve of the Brexit referendum, we opened the prize to entrants from throughout Europe. Last year, we joined forces with Cove Park, Scotland's artist residency centre, who hosted not just the winner, but the whole shortlist, putting them all up in pods overlooking a wonderful Scottish loch, and enabling them to start collaborating with each other. And they're looking forward to hosting the winner again this year. Throughout this period, I've been really gratified and inspired, both by the enthusiasm for the prize and by the talent and originality of the entrants. It's easy at the moment to fall into a narrative in which everything seems to be getting worse. And perhaps it's especially easy to do this if you work, as many of us do, in a university. But running the prize has reminded me how much energy and willingness there is to think, feel, and dream a more creative and optimistic world into being. So the prize is now at a turning point. Up to now, it's been partly funded by my own Leverhulme Prize, which is about to run out, and partly by the Centre. Our judges so far have been judging for free, rather heroically. So we'd now like to see the prize grow into something more sustainable and self-supporting, and also to introduce a kind of new layer of creative production within it. So with this in mind, we're fundraising, but this isn't the bit where we ask you for money for once, because we're very delighted to announce that we've received a very generous donation for the first year of the relaunched prize. So this will enable us next year to offer £1,000 to 3 winners in 3 different categories: text, image, and sound. So all 3 will then go to Cove Park and will collaborate on a new piece of work. So in this way, we're starting to think of the prize as enabling a creative process rather than just rewarding a piece of work that's already finished. We'll now be able to pay our judges and appoint a prize promoter. So I'd like to thank Gillian at Cove Park, and especially Jenny Juritz, Ivan's mother, for overseeing the fundraising and contributing really generously to the prize. And I'm especially pleased that the prize is turning into something that involves creative collaboration across art forms and between the university and the wider creative world. And this is obviously the case for the judges. We've had some really inspiring judging meetings, but also for the winners now in the future. So at a time when we really want the prize to act as a rallying point inside and outside the academy, this feels really important. I'm losing my voice, hence the I'm sort of rendered speechless by the excitement of the relaunched prize, and I hope you all are as well. At the same time, the Centre is going in some new directions. My co-director, Erica Carter, is stepping down, and I'd like to thank her for all she's done in helping me establish the Centre and give it an ethos and a vision. Ours has been a really unusually relaxed and easy collaborative relationship, which I've really valued over the past 5 years. In Erica's place, I'd like to welcome Ben Schofield, head of German here, who I've also worked with closely on the Beyond Enemy Lines ERC project, and I'm really excited to introduce as our new co-director. Ben has some brilliant ideas for events and projects, which you'll be hearing about soon. And in the meantime, we've started collaborating with the South Bank Centre on a series of events in October around the Odyssey. So do come along to those, and we'll be collaborating with the White Review on some events in the spring. So just a couple of thank yous, and then we'll move on to the shortlist. Thank you, most of all, to Anne Chapman and to the AHRI team for really brilliant organisational acumen and help. Thank you to Peter Boxall for publishing the winners and shortlist for 5 years in textile practice. Thank you to our in-house judges, to John Paul Stonard for longlisting the art, and to John Day for longlisting the texts. And thank you to Sylvina Milstein, who longlisted the music for the previous 4 years. Judges have come and gone, but on the whole, they've really stayed. Jeremy Harding is the only judge to have judged the prize for all 5 years since it started. So I'd especially like to thank him, even though he's currently talking, for seeing us through till now. Rachel Cusk has judged most of the years. I can't now see her. Here she is. And also, really importantly, was responsible for putting us in touch with Cove Park. So thank you very much to Rachel. Ryan Wigglesworth went beyond the call of duty this year in doing his own longlisting, wherever he is, at the back, which was really heroic. So thank you. And thank you to Gillian Waring, who we're really proud has joined us this year, though I don't know if she's actually joined us in... Oh, here you are. Brilliant. That's really good. And yeah, we're really proud that you have joined us and hope very much that you'll still be around next year. So still just about speaking, I'd like now to introduce the shortlist one by one, and I'm going to hand you over to one of our wonderful judges to tell you a bit about each of them. And then we will get a kind of 5-minute extract from the works. My pronunciation is, I haven't had a chance to ask everyone about their names, so I'm sorry if these aren't quite correct. So first of all, I'm going to hand over to Ryan Wigglesworth to tell us about Maciek Balanowski.
So you're dumping the pronunciation on me straight away. Where are you, Maciek? Tell me how you pronounce your name. Bałankowski. Maciek Bałankowski. First of all, I just wanted to say that the entries to this year's competition as a whole were very strong, and particularly in music, that was the case. So it was wonderful and challenging to have to sort of choose from these strong works with strong personality, and very gratifying it was. And Maciek's work, which is called Time is Ticking, struck me very much as a work that was, first of all, technically very accomplished and superbly conceived for its forces, which is a string orchestra. And it's not an easy thing to do, to write well for strings. And the piece is obviously a joy to perform, was evident very much in the recording that was submitted, and which we'll be hearing a bit later. And it's a large-scale work, which is also unusual amongst the submissions. The compositions tend to be on the shorter side, so it's a sound category, sorry. But still, the works tend to be on the shorter side, even in the sound category. So it was wonderful to see a large-scale argument, musical argument, handled with such confidence. Is that?
So now we're going to hear it.
Yeah, and now we'll hear it. So the performance is by the Sinfonietta Cracovia. Polish Chamber Orchestra, conducted by. There you go.
Thank you. And we'll have all the shortlist up to the front at the end. But I'd now like to hand over to Jeremy Harding, who's going to tell us about Anna Kathenka and Alice Willits.
Yes, we had several pretty interesting entries, and we got them down to 2. All were sort of curious about form and the modernist legacy and where to take it from there, if you could take it anywhere. Anna Kathenka and Alice Willits, are they here? Produced something called Poem Stein 1, which I had to take notes about in order to kind of describe it here. It's an intriguing experiment with what they call fractal poetics. They've made a piece which is hard to figure out, but quite a lot of fun. It's a design for the simulation of poetry, which actually turns into a poem. The poem itself mimics a lab protocol for DNA extraction. And then suddenly a riotous hunt is on for viable poetry plasmid DNA. Yeah. And as the work moves along, small self-similar poetic creatures evolve in the lab. They're all derived from strands or little bites of Gertrude Stein from Tender Buttons. And eventually a final plasmid DNA sample for a fractal poem is discovered. It's 9 words in all, but I must actually show you some of the diagrams that form part of the text. And the 9 words in question are hope, mind, green, just, much, past, time, perhaps, thing. So I think this is what was going on. And I don't know much about DNA, and I know even less about fractals, but it's an adventurous and imaginative and witty piece. Yeah, so please come up and...
Hello. Thank you, Jeremy. Well, this is the Kathenka-Willits experiment in fractal poetics. Thank you. Fractals are self-similar shapes that recur in ever smaller versions of themselves with a balance of order and variability.
You know, like a cauliflower.
The pleasure that humans feel when they see fractals in nature is of interest to us as poets.
So we've adapted a laboratory protocol used in plasmid DNA extraction as a method for generating genetic building blocks for the creation of a large-scale fractal poem.
Simply. We're going to read you an extract from the poetic essay we submitted to the Ivan Juritz Prize that describes the experience of following our experimental protocol.
So we're going to read you step 2 of the 4 steps in the process that we undertook.
Step 2, cell lysis.
Select the 2 cultures from the same lyric cell. Combine the cultures in a shared Google Drive document. Add 2 poets mixing and disrupting the text simultaneously. Do not allow lysis reaction to proceed for more than 5 minutes. Ensure that all the verse cultures have been well combined. The verse should look viscous and snotty. Repeat for each culture.
You will now have 5 times 500-word lysate verses.
Modesty.
Honor.
Self.
Here is a take.
Running amok.
In dreams.
Flick the switch.
Me in mine.
Nerve water.
Just difficult, swell.
The brain shores on each lick.
Abstract, like a sense of spreading
out.
She expected nonsense, but The lysate is beautiful.
How did that happen?
Alchemy.
An energetic likeness is milk or a gift of a kitten or a waiting or a space to do.
Something page or a canvas.
There might be many theories.
Maybe every tiredness. Maybe energetic attention, whether worry.
Quickly and if.
There are people who think that Margaret Atwood's
Be habitual coriander.
It's alive.
Doers of compassion.
Salt,
Coconut milk
water,
equals leave out ego.
strange love,
Bewitching patterns.
me to you,
Pizza.
is not reciprocated.
Okay,
That's enough of that.
she wonders about energy.
Is poetry the lightning or the conductor?
Sluice out the accumulated data loss by night.
Wrist is leading down and right back up the other arm.
Feminine action.
The feeling of knowing what is coming.
Somebody crying.
The feeling of holding the middle.
is difficult.
Line breaking is sailing.
Past synaptic thinking.
Smoosh it all together, what you got?
Thought is only that shape because of the rocks.
The page is a rock.
Educated and resumed.
What is a carrot
Pause.
but a pleasant time to take a moment?
This is not tardy.
But it is great and allowed to exist.
Or to officialize, renew, or to...
Bring into being
Do we move in behind our faces?
or to make something.
She wonders whether emotions will always be stirred, even if the language is accidental.
Or whether there is something profoundly meaningful happening in this experiment.
A wondrous good thing, the wrist,
To leave.
in the middle of a shrinking isolation of ice.
Man is leaving.
The feeling of being at altitude,
Wrist.
out into the Arctic, so purest oxygen fixes in...
My myoglobin for the sounding dive of my life
There is a nice thing,
on the tundra,
the foot or the philosophy.
where going home is a hope feeling.
She no longer feels like a shabby curate in a room full of dukes.
Poetry slimming tyrants. Here is brisket in stockings.
Knead and fresh pasta, and to be brought back into place, line breaks.
A steel resolve forces line breaks.
How might Mabel be?
Here is masculine, holding not wrist but something to leave
A violent peace that is leading.
in the day or the biscuit.
What is extra yellow?
A surprise in the darkest of places.
She's beginning to understand that this experiment is taking her poetic process.
And stretching it out into all its component parts.
Poetry is a voice of liberation cheese.
Intermittent games.
A lady.
Prose is difficult.
Mabel might be articulate insight
In small words.
that camouflage cellulite.
Finality.
Panties. Skinny titanium moths are searching all over the world.
For yellow, lunch breaks.
Would she recognize a fractal component of poetry?
A bit of over-processed you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we just wanted to say the end result. I mean, Jeremy's already said this, but the end result of the experiment are the 9 words, which we'll be taking forward to use as building blocks for growing fractal poems.
And to take this project into its next stage, we're inviting 20 poets to write into these 9 words with a view to creating an interactive poem on a digital platform. Should we say that?
This is
Yeah.
an investigative experiment in which we need the input of poets and digital creatives and virtual reality designers and funding bodies and venues and so on.
But we'd really love to hear from individuals and organisations that might be able to help us with coding digital poems, providing financial support on the ongoing development of the project, and also giving us platforms from which to share our findings with a wider audience.
collaborating on this project is one of the most exciting things either of us has ever done. So we're really looking forward to the next stage in the discoveries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's add that to our fundraising mission. So now Ryan is going to tell us about Daniel Fiegel.
So Daniel's work, Daniel Fiegel's work, is called Tox, and it's for a very unusual combination of instruments. Effectively a duet between a piano and an onde martineau. If you don't know what an onde, does everyone know what an onde martineau is? Yeah. Sort of vague. It was a very early electronic instrument, a bit like what's it called, theremin. And it was, I think, 1920s. First used. Olivier Messiaen used it a lot. And it's not a combination I'd ever heard together before on martineau and piano. Perhaps it does exist. Where is Daniel? Are there lots of pieces for martineau and piano? Just the only one? You don't think so? Right, okay. It might be. Anyway, so unlike anything else I'd seen on the page, let alone heard, and given that it is this unusual combination, it's extremely convincingly and idiomatically handled. You know, it's idiomatically written for the two protagonists, if you like, piano and onde martineau, and it makes up really a very fascinating idea, but it's pulled off with incredible chutzpah. And the recording, will we hear the recording now? Is from Musique France, the radio, French radio, recording of the premiere, is that right? And the two performers are Nathalie Forget and Flore Merlin.
Thank you. And now Gillian Waring is going to tell us about Gabriella Hurst.
So I've just written a little bit because I don't actually ever do public speaking, so I hope it's okay. And is Gabriella? Hi. Congratulations. So the nomination for, is it visual arts category? Yeah, the visual arts category is for a really funny, engaging and investigative film. The idea of Gabriella's was to film herself painting in a horrendous storm, just like painters in the Romanticism period did 200 years ago, or shall I say, supposedly did. Because after watching the film, I questioned that. As Gabriella reenacts how stupendously difficult, even impossible it is to actually get the easel to stand up, and certainly doesn't look romantic or heroic. Much more slapstick, shall we say. But luckily, slapstick is much more enjoyable and entertaining to watch. And therefore, I'm pleased it is difficult to paint in a storm. So, thank you, Gabriella, sorry.
There's a link on our website which will allow you to see the brilliant painting that you can imagine emerges within minutes of that. Thank you very much. And now Jeremy is going to tell us about Cat Woodward.
Thank you for that. I think these problems of will and representation are a great transdisciplinary lesson for us. It doesn't only happen in painting. Yeah, Cat Woodward's sequence of 36 short poems is what she calls a quest for a new modern lyric answerable to our current modernity. The poems are fully confident and beautifully voiced, sometimes by an author-like I who inhabits them fitfully, but mostly by another version of the first person which speaks clearly from within the work itself, the I of the poems. In her presentation for the award, Cat Woodward asked, how far can I push the poetic operations of the lyric subject? Not much further, I'd say, if this work is anything to go by. A poetry entry for the Ivan Juritz Prize isn't necessarily asking for the same sort of judgment as a submission to a poetry editor, but the judges were lucky with Cat Woodward because we happen to be reading lyric verse of a very high order. So thank you. Cat Woodward here.
Can you all hear me? Stand here? Yeah. Can I get some more volume? Is that one all right?
Yeah.
Right. How's this? Fantastic. Yeah, not much further. That's possibly the nicest thing anyone has ever said about my writing. I'm going to read a selection of lyrics from the sequence. They're all untitled, so I'm going to blast through them if you don't mind. Greta is great. Jane makes pancakes. Jane cuts paper the shape of a black and red rooster while Greta draws a sperm whale. Galanthus roots its snoot up out the crispy soil as if to say, check out my fab tinkling lingo. Get your butts in the car, girls. We're blowing this banana stand. A loafing sprig, solving the salve of solving with the head of a pig. Angry all the time, but the bad angry, not the good kind. Buddy, smugness is all I've got. Free speech is all right-a-rooney, but I just can't hear you over this frog. Green, green, green goes the ritual beast of spring. Feed the mare her wormwood and grist. The cat is in the pretty black stream. Go home, vulgaris, you're depressed. Lo, what fresh hell is this to zoom through a wilderness of middle-aged contempt? It feels like a thunderclap about to start raining knives, like pressure cooking a gold brick. Don't mind me. I'll be over here, squeezing the song from this missile thrush. Damon, spelled Damon, has lovely hair, yes, yes. Greta greets the dawn, her aura all air, yes, yes. Jane puts champagne on ice. Bewilderment very much, here on the dark side of the turtleneck. This word right here can lay down a ghost, and you can thank Simon and Garfunkel for that. All I want is to buy a good brown loaf, and I'll see it in hell. It would matter tremendously if in our midst there were a thresh of frost. It's werewolf versus amethyst, and I know where my money is. It matters whether an iris grew from that there drop of sweat and a pumpkin from the blood, glad tidings of comfort and joy. Damn these green trousers I'm in. No goblin turned heroine. Greta agrees, garish as a peony. For yielding, redeeming, jump into the mountain ass backwards and grin. grinds broccoli with a savage pity, up by the hard ear bone, and she a great dancer. If nothing else, remember this, she made a soup. The woods he draws his cloudy shroud about him. What a shy eyelash he has, come, come. That's so 19th century, all bonny maids and sweet pea. So it's true, nothing transcends the sins of the father. The enemy of my enemy is, well, dangerous. You there, you are a druid of terrible portent. I ought to be sick. I ought to be oysters and lamb fat. Poor pebble. I hear humble thunder killing snow and more hot white claptrap. But now I have put away the pepper and dirt and have a mouth all full of big yellow teeth. When I was banished, I spoke like the banished. My, gardenia and gladioli. Now it rains, rains and rains like wheat in a wreath. Lingers his hyacinth, picking up what I put down. Enchant someone's little blue husband in the hawthorn. Away my grievance with his blushing blue frankincense. Who needs her innocence? When I die, I go to boy heaven. Surrender, and like the Leviathan, consume the air. Curse superstition, cutting as the holly. No contest, that other verse. You haven't met a reader like me. Breakfast be my idle bridal, when winter's coffee is soft as the lily. I sidle out my bed of ivy, as from the pine lets fly my nightly care. Slim picking for finches, more tired than the dawn that breaks you there. Dead bulrush, dead penny, still I will be merry. Troubled is my bikini, my kingdom to eat flesh and kill softly. It is the case that I am, slipping what I have to become. Red, red, red is the delphinium. Get ready to participate. Learn to lean like a large tree on a small fence. Living is already difficult. Walk into a room. They'll say, "Hey, it's you. Did no one tell you about avocados? They're just a fruit." Fool in troubled water, fool in the lee. If I ever say, at the end of the day, like there were no tomorrow, then, pal, you rub those good cheeks till trusting makes a nun of me. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Ryan is going to tell us about Effie Efemiu.
Effie's piece is called "Even If It Is Only a Whisper," but it's not a whispery piece. Is it, yeah, Effie? It's a very powerful and stark duo for the two violins, and it felt to me like there were several limitations that felt deliberately imposed, which make the impact of the work all the stronger. So the gestural language is very tight and limited, as is the harmonic language, and it all felt to me like it led towards a very ruthless concision. If is that agreeable, the way I put that? So we're very lucky to be able to hear the work live. So even if it is only a whisper, played by Madeline Mitchell and Gordon McKay.
Thank you very much. What an extraordinary performance. And hopefully we'll be able to upload a video of that onto our website. I'd now like to invite the whole shortlist up just to sort of have a round of applause and perhaps a photo opportunity from Anne. Come along up. And perhaps if we could have all the judges up as well. Congratulations.
Hello. It's always a delight to judge this prize. And could everyone give a round of applause to Lara Fagel for providing this forum of creativity? So I think everyone will agree it's an outstanding shortlist this year. Strangely, a writer has not won this prize for a long time. So I'm very pleased to announce that literature has risen from its grave and given us a noble winner in the form of Cat Woodward. Congratulations.
Are you sure? Gosh, I wasn't expecting this moment, so I didn't prepare anything at all to say. So I guess I'll say I had completely given up on competitions of all kinds, and I saw this and I thought, oh, whatever, I'll give this one a go, nothing's going to happen, nothing ever does. And then a few months, many days later, I got a long list email. I was like, oh my God, the first time I've ever been longlisted for anything, and I was so happy. And then a little while later, I think it was about like 6 in the morning, and I rolled over, because I was in New Zealand at the time. I rolled over and I checked my emails, and I saw the shortlist email, and I thought, no, like, don't be daft. I was like mildly annoyed because I was just not expecting it at all. And this is the first time I've ever won anything, and I don't know whether I want to cry or throw up. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much to a very worthy winner, and we hope, thank you to all our shortlists, and we hope that as the prize grows you will keep entering, and there'll be a chance for some collaborative Cove Park visits, and do carry on and enjoy the rest of the rather hot party.